surged through the streets and surrounded the barricaded-off Trump Tower where Donald Trump lives.
Snowflake, snowflake, Lilo, snowflake.
We reject the president-elect! Load up, load up, load up. We rob the police.
Snowflake, snowflake, Lilo, snowflake.
I think it speaks to the disenfranchisement of the people that someone like him could be seen as offering anything to the masses.
Load up, load up, load up. We rob the police.
Lilo, snowflake, falling from the sky.
What about gay people? Trump has vowed to protect the LGBT community from a fanatical ideology that represents its biggest threat: radical Islam.
As your president, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology.
Load up, load up, load up. We rob the police.
Snowflake, snowflake, Lilo, snowflake, falling, 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 falling.
He is a racist.
Under Obama, more black people are living below the poverty line. The number of African Americans on food stamps has increased 58% under Obama.
On every leading economic issue, on the major economic issues, black Americans have lost ground in every one of those leading categories. So for the last 10 years, it's not been good for black folks.
Is this how the left helps black communities? By making them poorer and more dependent on government. Race relations are at their worst in decades. 8 years of Obama has been devastating for the black community.
He is a sexist. He is a neo-Nazi.
Well, we don't understand why you called in the National Guard.
Falling on my nose.
Not my president. He is a lying ass.
Snowflake, snowflake, Lilo, snowflake,
Fake ass.
Lilo, snowflake, falling from the sky.
Dumb ass son of a bitch.
Load up, load up, load up. We rob the police.
Snowflake, snowflake, Lilo, snowflake, falling, 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 falling.
That's not my president! That's not my president! Load up, load up, load up. We rob the police.
Falling in my hand.
Thank you for taking America back 60 years of progress.
Falling on my head.
You just voted in a Nazi fascist.
Falling on my nose. Falling in my hand. Snowflake, snowflake, Lilo, snowflake.
What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do?
The following is a Nightside Radio Studios production.
From the wind-powered Nightside Radio Studios,
tear down this wall.
This is the J.J. McCartney Show.
It's this man. It's the compassion. It's the dignity. It's the wisdom. It's the horse sense of the guy.
Did you know that 65% of the people murdered in the last 10 years were killed by handguns?
Would it make you feel any better, little girl, if they was pushed out of windows?
The American people have seen the truth, and they can see through your lies. There's coming a day when publications such as yours turn into nothing more than flea market advertising. They'll be handing it out for free in grocery store parking lots under everybody's windshield wiper. Yeah, that's the future for the Washington Post and the New York Times and every other liberal publication in this country. We are not going to tolerate your bull anymore. None of it. The American people are fed up. I thought we made that clear on November 8th, but apparently you people in the media just don't get it. A new chapter in American history begins now.
It is my high honor and distinct privilege
to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America.
Donald Trump is the person to make America great again.
We are a team.
They said it couldn't be done.
Together, we will lead our party back to the White House.
He said it must be done.
Beginning on January 20th, we cannot afford to be so politically correct anymore. The most important difference between our plan and that of our opponent is that our plan will put America first.
Here's J.J. McCartney.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we are. It's Friday. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we made it. It's the 12th day of 2018. And boy, have we got a great show for you today. Yes, the mysterious Colonel will be with us. We're going to talk about the latest news. We're going to talk about the snowflakes out there that cannot believe that the president violated their virgin eardrums. Never mind the fact that the man was telling the truth. All right, welcome here, everybody. Glad to have you with us. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, our president, Donald Trump, in a closed meeting with congressmen yesterday, talking about this immigration bill and looking and asking, now, why are you throwing in things like immigration from Haiti and from African nations that really have nothing to contribute to the American fabric? The president, speaking frankly, probably not aware of all of the virgin ears in Congress that have never heard a word like shit before. You know, it's amazing how the left will try and nail this president's hide to the wall, while for years and years they ignored the behaviors of those on the left who are guilty of far worse than what President Trump said about Haiti and these African nations. Now, was it in the best of taste for him to refer to Haiti as a, well, just use the word shithole? I mean, the fact of the matter is, Haiti is a rundown, depressed slum of a country. You know, and if people don't like hearing the truth, if they don't like hearing the truth about Haiti, then do we really even need to bother with these people? I mean, what is going on? Now, we have the mysterious Colonel with us today. Hello, mysterious Colonel.
Hello, JJ, and you're absolutely right. I can attest to the fact that the one time in March of 2007 that I had visited the great country of Haiti, and I had asked the president at the time to interview all his fine, equivalent to West Point military graduates and fine astronauts. He told me maybe later on. So needless to say, those poor people. Those poor people.
Now let us take a stroll down memory lane, because the left, well, they're intolerant of anything that President Trump does or says.
Exactly.
But let's remember the man who was one heartbeat away from the presidency for 8 years. None other than Delaware's finest, Joe Biden.
For example. But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children, the quality of our education, the joy of their play.
This is how it sounded when Robert Kennedy said those words in 1968. Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play.
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
That our generation of Americans will pay any price, bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship.
Do you remember President Kennedy's inaugural address in 1961, Colonel?
I do.
Because you just heard part of it plagiarized by Joe Biden.
By Joe Biden, yeah.
But wait.
That's no problem.
But wait, there's more.
President John Kennedy's inaugural, 1961. Biden's critics say he sells himself as a man whose words and visions can inspire a new generation in politics. But if the thoughts, phrases, and visions really belong to others, it's a form of false advertising. Robert Kennedy's friend and speechwriter.
If what he did was to present Robert Kennedy's thoughts and statements and speeches as his own, then of course it's counterfeit.
And I also am told that Chuck Graham, state senator, is here. Chuck, stand up, Chuck. Let him see you. Oh yeah. God love you. What am I talking about? I tell you what, you're making everybody else stand up, though, pal. Thank you very, very much. I tell you what, stand up for Chuck.
Boy, wasn't that one of the proudest moments in the history of America?
Exactly.
Stand up, Chuck.
He just showed his...
Stand up, Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck in the wheelchair.
Well, I would.
Can you imagine what Chuck was thinking? What do you suppose Chuck was thinking at that moment?
Yeah, truly amazing. Truly amazing.
Yeah, what kind of brain donor am I listening to right now? You know, Joe Biden, and you know there is more.
Thank you. Once in a while, a generation of leaders gets a set of problems that are configured in a way that there's no historical precedent to look back on, other than our grit, other than, you know, some courage and determination to know how to deal with it. The President and I were talking about something yesterday in the Oval Office, which the press here, I'll not suggest what it was, but the response was to the folks that were in the office with us was, you know, if we do everything right, we do it with absolute certainty, we stand up there and we make really tough decisions, there's still a 30% chance we're going to get it wrong.
No, more like a 100% chance, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. And yet, you know, it just, this man was one heartbeat away from the presidency. The sad thing was the guy that was president at the time was no smarter than Joe. And you know, you listen to what this next set of sound bites. I shake my head when I remember all of these things.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Okay, in case you missed it, very softly in the background, Joe Biden leaning into the ear of Barack Obama, who was about to take the podium, and he says, "This is a big effing deal," but he used the whole word. This is a big frickin' deal, but it's the actual dirty word version, okay? So they get upset because the president describes a nation that is, by all accounts, a shithole as a shithole, but not in front of reporters and cameras, in a closed session of Congress. And then somebody violates this man's trust and speaks on condition of anonymity and makes these claims against a president. It's ridiculous. Let's continue.
Thank you, everybody.
Part of what a leader does is to instill confidence, is demonstrate that he or she knows what they're talking about and communicates to people. If you listen to me and follow what I'm suggesting, we can fix this. And when the stock market crashed, Franklin Roosevelt got on television and didn't just talk about the princes of Greece.
Yeah, he got on television in 1929 when he wasn't president, and when television had not yet been invented.
Yeah, that's okay. I guess he...
So, yeah, that's, apparently being mind-bogglingly stupid is acceptable to the left. It would have to be, because you have to be mind-bogglingly stupid to vote for these people.
Exactly. Yep.
And if that was all there was to it, maybe we could survive. But there's more.
Well, I get...
Are you disappointed with the tone of the campaign, the lipstick on the pig stuff, and some of the ads? And you guys haven't been completely guilt-free, making fun of John McCain's inability to use a computer.
I thought that was terrible.
Why'd you do it then?
I didn't know we did it.
Yeah, he didn't know we did it. But Barack Obama at the end of the commercial says, "I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message."
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't know that what was in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's acceptable.
Yeah.
That's acceptable.
Of course it is.
I didn't do it. We'd have never done it. And I don't think Barack, I just think that was...
Did Barack Obama approve that ad? He said he did, right?
Yeah, the answer is I don't think anything was intentional.
Oh, no, it was not intentional.
Women are flourishing here in Ohio, so why are you supporting?
We're not supporting clean coal. Guess what? China's building every week, 2 dirty coal plants. And it's polluting the United States. It's causing people to die.
It's polluting the United States and is causing people to die.
Exactly.
Tell me,
every
where are the dead bodies? Where are they stacked? I want to see them.
Yeah, I'd like to see those obituaries. Killed by Chinese, coal plants. Yeah, otherwise healthy.
But for 8 years, the media just chuckled it off. Said, that's just Joe being Joe.
Exactly.
Nothing to see here, folks. No need to worry.
Exactly.
And in a sense, Joe Biden was Barack Obama's insurance policy. You know, because if somebody had taken out Obama, what would we have had?
Right.
My God.
Exactly.
Do you think calling Haiti a shithole would be where it started and stopped with Biden? Can you imagine?
Exactly.
When you look at Donald Trump, and you folks out there that didn't vote for the man and have shown nothing but antipathy for the man, take a look at your 401k.
Yeah.
Take a look at the economy. Take a look at what he has done in just one short year in office.
That's the problem. That's the problem, JJ. All that happened over the last 8 years, with the exception of Obamacare, was nothing but talk, blowing smoke up everybody's you-know-what.
Yep.
And that's... Here you've got results, but right away the libs want to say, oh, the reason the stock market is doing so well is because of the policies instituted by Barack Obama. Yeah, all of a sudden after 8 years, his policies start kicking in when he's no longer in office.
Well, so why is it?
Yeah.
Why is it then that Walmart waited until after the tax cuts had passed to pass along?
Right.
They boost their wages to $11 an hour minimum. And they give out $1,000 bonuses. Now, why would you suppose it is that they waited until tax cuts passed to do that?
Yeah, exactly. But see, the other side of that is, the libs call it out. Oh, well, they closed a bunch of Sam's Clubs too. I mean, they are sick. I got to tell you, they're the most hateful. I mean, think about it, and everybody needs to listen to the words. Their words are violent. And they're hateful and destructive. Don't flip this around on the Republicans or conservatives and say we're hateful, because all they talk about is, people are going to die because Trump called Haiti an asshole. They're going to die. They're going to die. I'm so sick of the libs and the left, because they are truly the most hateful. I mean, look at Hollywood. These actors like De Niro. De Niro better stop smoking dope because he's losing his brain cells. The guy's out of control.
He really
is. It's amazing.
He really is. And
these people are sick.
I've said it from the outset of this show 4.5 years ago, Colonel, that liberalism is a disease. It is a mental disease. When you diagnose a disease, you have to find that there's what we call a certain type of pathology, okay? Because that illness is defined, at least as far as I know, by demonstrating symptoms that suggest that there is a problem, a physiological or psychological problem that prevents someone from being well. Okay? Because, I mean, to me, health is the lack of illness. But when you're sick, it means part of you is unwell. When you give people sane and rational information that suggests that one course of action leads to wellness and the other course of action leads to injury, anybody that chooses the course that leads to injury is mentally unwell. Liberalism is the ultimate demonstration of this. That people would choose to put their necks into the stockades and would choose to have their feet and their hands shackled by the burdens of an overreaching government. And they would rather be under the control of a group of sick individuals that live in Washington and that rule from on high. Anybody that chooses that path over the path of freedom and liberty and the pursuit of happiness has got to be mentally unwell. And that's why we do not argue with liberals on this program, because they are they're mentally diseased. They are simply incapable of holding their own against somebody that has a healthy mind.
In a rational and respective way, because when they can't make a valid point, that's when they kick in and call you every sort of phobic word in the book, and they call you the R word and a bigot and everything else.
They go all Robert De Niro. They go completely Robert De Niro. They go Ashley Judd. They go Ashley Judd. There's Rosie O'Donnell. They're all sharing the same brain, and it's diseased.
I've never seen a more public, violent, vitriol hatred of Donald Trump as I have with that comedian. I can't think of her name right now. That's been in the news lately with De Niro. These people, you talk about
Kathy Griffin? Kathy Griffin?
No, not Kathy Griffin. No? There's another one. Arquette. What's her name? Arquette. Rosanna Arquette. She's another sick one. But I think it's Rosanna Arquette. But De Niro, man, you talk about somebody that really needs some counseling and some psychological help or some medication.
Or a visit from the Secret Service.
Yeah, exactly. The Secret Service doesn't have enough agents to visit everybody that's probably said some very, very inappropriate things about the president, and I'll leave it at that. Because I know if they did it for the other guy the last 8 years, you'd be probably jailed for just
exactly right.
The words.
Exactly
quite
right.
frankly.
You know, the fact that Donald Trump is very plain and frank in the way that he speaks, has that ever not been the case with Donald Trump? Has he ever minced his words? Has he ever pulled any punches when it comes to his opinions? I mean, look, folks, I know up front that there's a certain percentage of the American population that will detest me because of the things that I say I believe. They will dismiss anything I have to say because they have such an ingrained hatred for the ideology that I represent. But even so, what they have done with Donald Trump is it's a pathological thing with these people. If they thought they could get away with it, they would take Donald Trump out. And they would have absolutely no conscience about doing it.
Exactly.
I mean, when you have Kathy Griffin posing with the supposed decapitated head of Donald Trump, and who in the world would ever find that amusing or funny?
Right.
Anybody that would find that amusing or funny belongs in a loony bin. And you know what? Most of them are in a loony bin. It's called California.
Yeah. And I'm getting tired of these liberals. All they think they have to do when they're caught and called out on this is just say, well, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it, and cry a little bit and have your lawyer defend you. You know, I tell you, I've just never seen anything quite like it.
Yeah,
and the left puts up with it, and meanwhile, there's no label for Kathy Griffin. I guess that doesn't fall into one of the categories. I guess we ought to make up a new word, JJ, called Trumpophobic. Oh, you're Trumpophobic. Maybe that's the new word of the day.
Either that, or we start making limericks up about women like Kathy Griffin. Limericks that start with lines like, "There once was a woman named Funt." Ladies and gentlemen, I don't mean to be disrespectful I don't mean to be disrespectful to women. I don't mean to be disrespectful to people of color or anything else. The only thing I know for certain is that if you work for a living in America today, you are better off than you were 1 year ago. And it's better
believe it.
And it's because of the presidency of Donald Trump and nothing else. Don't give any credit where it's not due. This man has done so much, and he's gotten no credit whatsoever from the mainstream media.
None.
They have spent all of their time trying to take polls, which, by the way, are so slanted it's not even worth looking at. They're always trying to convince everybody that the election of Donald Trump really didn't happen, and it really wasn't legitimate because we say so. That's the only thing they have going for them, is that they have a platform. But their platform is sinking into the muck because there's no credibility there. These pollsters that are telling you that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are the most admired man and woman in the world, I'm sorry, but these are the same pollsters that said there was a 99.9% chance that Hillary was going to win the election.
Yeah.
So look, Mom, no credibility. None.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what we're seeing now, Colonel, is these people have now rounded a corner, and they have gone from being nuisances to now becoming threats to our way of life. They literally are threatening our way of life.
Yep.
And people will say, that's an exaggeration. No, it's not an exaggeration. Not when you have people openly talking about assassinating our president, openly condoning the notion of somebody beating up our president. There was this play in New York City.
Right.
Over and over again every night, there's a guy dressed up to look exactly like the president being assassinated on stage. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me that these people have any morality or decency about them? That, ladies and gentlemen, that these people are, for want of a better word, they belong in a shithole. They really
JJ,
do.
That was just artistic expression. Come on.
Artistic
What's the matter
expression?
With you? Expression, yeah. It's all imagination.
So just like Trump. So just like Mr. Mapplethorpe, who put a crucifix in a jar of urine, is that artistic expression?
Yeah, right.
No,
that's another one. Yep.
It's blasphemy. Yeah. It's godlessness. It is not just godlessness. It is a hatred for God and everything that is righteous. Is what it is.
We're in a bad spot in this country. You see it every day. Somebody that's trying to speak their side when it's a conservative side, they're getting cut off. They're getting censured. They're getting fired. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. And it's the left, the hateful left, that's trying to supersede. And I'm telling you, they're succeeding at it. I don't know when it's going to end.
You have to give the left credit, though, that they do McCarthyism so much better than McCarthy did.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Seriously, right. But they've taken it, obviously the opposite direction. And it's if you're not a communist and you're in Hollywood, you're probably not working. And if you're an outspoken conservative in Hollywood, then you probably have to own your own studio to be working.
Yeah.
But never mind Harvey. Old Harvey, he can do whatever he wants there in Hollywood. Right. Yeah, now they're talking about, well, maybe we were a little premature in banning him for life from the
there you go.
Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, or whatever the hell they call it.
Oh, my God.
You are talking about child molesters. You are talking about, let's call them what they are, child rapists, okay? We're talking about sick, diseased, and they're not just sick and diseased. These people are a direct threat to children everywhere they go. These people,
forget about the threat to women.
These people invented human trafficking.
Yeah.
They did. And, you know, when you look at it, too, I mean, where is drug use the absolute highest? Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. And it's condoned, and it's the highest, and nobody cares.
Yep.
It's truly amazing. I tell you that, again, this is another example of how phony Hollywood is. And you got pictures of you know, future President Oprah,
right.
with Harvey Weinstein. You got the Clintons hanging all over him. You got Barack Hussein Obama hanging all over him. It's funny. These people aren't a problem when they give all these presidential candidates and presidents all kinds of money and donate and whatever.
Yeah,
and they speak out a little bit, but they got all the pictures going. It's amazing.
But notice how they didn't say anything when Steve Scalise got shot last summer.
Right,
and
notice by that knucklehead.
Yeah, and notice how they didn't say. Well, they didn't claim him as one of their own, but all of the rhetoric behind the guy that was the shooter in Las Vegas, he was a leftist.
Oh, right.
An absolute leftist.
You better believe it.
And, you know, when you look at this through, you know, clear eyes, you know, that doesn't make anything less tragic than it was. But Hollywood has inspired a lot more gun violence than the National Rifle Association has. I mean, they really have.
Right.
Hollywood drives this vitriol. And, you know, the theme of all of their movies now is far, far to the left. And notice that they're the ones that have been pushing this, you know, pro-LGBTQ agenda for decades. They've been pushing this, and you know, no society can survive for long if the birth rate is below a certain level. Because I mean, this is simple arithmetic, folks. If you don't have as many babies as your enemies, what's going to happen over time?
Yeah,
you'll be overtaken by them, and yet now they've drummed it into the heads of American women that you need to make your own life before you ever think about having children. You know, when I was young, it wasn't uncommon for people that were 20 or 21 years old to already have a couple of kids and still be working on them. You know, look, children today, through medicine, through psychology, and through the culture, have been conditioned to stall their adulthood as long as they can. Which is why you see women that are trying to get pregnant in their early 30s, and it's difficult for them. When biologically we were designed to reproduce in our late teens at, you know, and there's nothing unnatural about it. And the thing is, I mean, the rest of the world that doesn't have its head up its butt, they understand this. I mean, why do you want to have a family where you got 5 or 6 kids? I think it's very simple. That is called built-in free laborers. Okay. I mean, how does a family gain? You know, you look at these families that come to America from places like South Korea, Vietnam. I mean, people that really know what it's like to have nothing. And they come to America, they see opportunity everywhere they go. They find themselves a place where they can start a shop. And the next thing you know, they're prosperous and they're doing well. And in America, we've had it so good for so long that all of our young people, not all of them, but most of them, you know, they wind up fat, dumb, and happy by the time they're 16. And they have absolutely no idea how the real world works. I mean, really, and you know, you look at Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump is an example of somebody that he got into the family business early. He thrived on it, and he made the most of his opportunities. Maybe that's why they hate him as much as they do Colonel. is because he defies every single rule that they have tried to impose, not only on him, but everybody else like him. They've tried to make it a crime and a sin to prosper in this country.
Yeah, exactly. Except if it's them themselves.
Right.
You know, they're okay to prosper, but nobody else is. I'm sick and tired of getting beat up and beat down by these screwballs on the left. Nancy Pelosi, they're just getting crumbs. Give me $1,000 crumb. I'll be more than happy to take it. Maybe to her it's nothing. I'm just sick and tired of them telling everybody what's good for Americans when it's really not good. And they just can't get beyond, her and that Chuck Schumer can't get beyond being happy for Americans prospering this last year with the stock market. I mean, it's breaking all kinds of records. People have gotten, and the government's going to reap the benefits of that as well.
Certainly,
it's amazing.
Certainly
how they
is.
Just can't get beyond that.
They talk about the deficit. And they say, the deficit's going to go up. No, it isn't. No, it isn't, because the revenue is going up.
Right.
And, this is something, JFK proved it, Ronald Reagan proved it, that when you lower taxes, especially on corporate America and the working people, the amount of commerce that gets done in America goes up dramatically. And that means that the government has more money because there's more, if sales are up, if sales are up,
exactly,
then your tax collection is going to be higher. But they don't want to think in terms of that, because to them, anybody that makes an extra buck owes them something. They see it all as ill-gotten gain. They don't want to give anybody credit for the work they do. And I can't think of anything more un-American than people that don't work for a living pounding their fist and demanding that they get some of yours.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree.
If they want to live here for free, then make them pick the crumbs up off the street.
Exactly. Pick the cans and bottles up on the sides of the street. Yeah. Police up the garbage. Do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's wrong with that? How is that un-American? You're teaching them a lesson. You want to get the free benefits? You want to get welfare and all that? Well, guess what? You got to put on a little orange reflectorized vest, and from 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are, Monday through Friday, we're going to go to a different part of the roadways, and you're going to clean up the roadways.
Yeah,
what's wrong with that?
What was it that Miles Standish said? I think it was something like, no work, no eat.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Amazing.
Yeah. Colonel, we got to take
I don't see a problem with that.
We got to take a quick time out. We'll be back with more. It's the mysterious Colonel on the Friday Extravaganza here today. And we're talking about the job that President Trump has done in the first year and how the news media only fixates on four-letter words that they act like they've never heard before. We'll be back with more in just a minute.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. They have got everything you need, from ProPure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage? No problem. Advice? No problem. Call our good friend Sue at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com.
Well, there's a rocking place I know where all the radicals can go. It's called the mosque, where the mullah's gonna tell you all to kill the infidels at the mosque. Yeah, the cats and chicks really get their kicks at the mosque. If you're feeling like a wreck, well, you can point yourself to Mecca at the mosque. If you're lonely as hell, you can join a sleeper cell at the mosque. Yeah, the mullahs are the maddest and the body odor's baddest at the mosque. Oh, well, you better believe it, all the refugees are at the mosque. And if your dog goes missing, better check the kitchen at the mosque. If you're a Christian or a Jew, you know they're coming after you at the mosque. At the mosque. Well, you can find Muhammad or Saeed or Ahmed at the mosque. They're building bombs in the cellar just for Pam Geller at the mosque. Yeah, they feel right at home in every gun-free zone at the mosque. Well, you can plan your next attack with the guys from Iraq at the mosque. Make sure your target is soft and you might really pull it off at the mosque. Oh my goodness. But don't say we didn't warn you when it comes to California at the mosque. Oh, well, the Democrats say they're gonna do some praying at the mosque. They think there's more than a smidgen of a peaceful religion at the mosque. Yeah, they're going insane with Barack Hussein at the mosque. Well, there's a lot of crazy people where you see the funky steeple at the mosque. So don't you dare be late for the caliphate at the mosque. If it's Shiites or Sunnis, they're all a bunch of loonies at the mosque. 72 virgins? Yeah, that's what they tell you at the mosque. Good luck with that.
Okay, we are back on the J.J. McCartney Show, and lest anybody accuse me of plagiarism, let me just tell you straight up, I'm reading from CNSnews.com, an article by Craig Bannister, dated today. Flashback. Rolling Stone magazine defends Obama calling Romney bullshitter in its magazine. President Trump is taking heat from liberal media for reportedly referring to some countries as shitholes. But when Obama publicly called Republican rival Mitt Romney a bullshitter in 2012, Rolling Stone sprang to his defense. In its A Brief History of Presidential Profanity, Rolling Stone began by mocking the outrage at Obama's vulgarity. Now, Colonel, when Obama called Mitt Romney a bullshitter in the pages of Rolling Stone earlier this year, back in 2012, it set off a brief firestorm. Defenders of the Republican candidate were shocked that the man holding the highest office in the land would resort to such language. But in truth, the halls of the White House, like nearly every other house in the country, with the apparent exception of Romney's house, have heard no shortage of profanity over the decades. For example, we go back to Abraham Lincoln, who said there is nothing to make an Englishman shit quicker than the sight of General George Washington. Barack Obama calling Mitt Romney a bullshitter. Well, how about this? Joe Biden saying this is a big effing deal. We already talked about that. Dick Cheney. Right. Dick Cheney reportedly told Vermont Senator Patrick Leahy to go F himself. George W. Bush referred to Adam Clymer of the New York Times as a major league a-hole. Barack Obama said, I don't think I should take any shit from anybody on that. Do you? Richard Nixon said the Watergate tapes put the phrase expletive deleted on the map. Lyndon Johnson said, I do know the difference between chicken shit and chicken salad. John F. Kennedy said this is obviously F up. I don't want to say the word because I know there are children listening, and I know that it would be the first time that they'd heard it. But, obviously a president dropping the F-bomb is, not unprecedented. Harry Truman. In Truman's eyes, General Douglas MacArthur was a dumb son of a bitch.
It doesn't matter, JJ, what he says or what he does. Any opportunity the Trump haters, and there are many, get to down and beat up this president for anything, They're going to jump on it. Remember back a while ago, he tweeted some innocuous word. I don't even know what it was. I can't remember it. And the media was all over that. Well, what does that mean? What does that word mean? Some, good morning tweet. These people are sick.
Yep.
It's worse than Trump derangement syndrome. I've never seen anything like it. Every tweet, everything he says, they criticize and try to destroy him on. It's amazing.
And did they say anything about Lyndon Johnson when he said that if we pass this welfare reform, we'll have them N-words voting for us for the next 200 years? Was there any?
Yeah, well,
I mean, the double standard is so easy to see. And, the American people, they've heard the words before. Don't insult my intelligence and tell me, that this is unprecedented.
I love the left. They say it's insulting, but wait a minute. Isn't it the truth? I've been there. I've seen it. Through no fault of those people, and there were millions of them, or hundreds of them, JJ, lining the street from the airport to the presidential palace. It's actually sick. When I get into the presidential palace in Haiti in 2007, I'm looking around and I'm going, this is unbelievable. You get people that are lining the streets that have nothing to do. There's no work. They're poor as dirt, just looking at the vehicles that we were riding in, knowing that we were somebody important going to the presidential palace. I mean, it's really sick. But quite frankly, if you were to classify it, that's kind of like what that country is. And it's not insulting, it's a fact. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Susan Sarandon or Meryl Streep or even Robert De Niro say, wow, I'd really like to move to Haiti. It's got a lot of nice property there and a lot of things I'd like to do, I mean, these people are so sick. I don't see them trying to make things in the world or even the country better, but yet they're talking about our president. Shut up. Try to do something positive. I just can't believe what's going on all the time, and I'm tongue-tied 90% of the time because I'm getting sick of all these people who want to spew this venom, but yet they do nothing about it. I don't see De Niro living in the some apartment building in Baltimore or even downtown, gang area of Chicago trying to make it better. What's he done for the homeless lately? He could feed half the homeless in the world, but does he?
Yeah. Exactly right. Now, right now we're going to travel by the magic of electronics to a place that we know is definitely not a shithole. South Carolina, where Charlotte is standing by. Hello, Charlotte. Welcome to the Friday show.
Hey, Major.
Hey, how are you doing, Charlotte? We don't know.
I can't hear any of them contain them, and all the Hollywood stars is up there being so vulgar on Inauguration Day. I mean, those were women acting that way. And I am sure that they have heard worse than that in their closed board meetings before. Anyway, he was not talking about the people. He was talking about the country, the mud holes, the huts and the mud roads after all of the aid that we have given them.
Yeah.
I wish the congressmen would grow up and quit acting like schoolyard bullies.
Well, not only that, but on one side they act like schoolyard bullies. On the other side, they act like Vestal virgins that have never.
I don't think anybody voted for Trump because he was an English major, and I don't count what he says. I count what he does. Yeah. And if you do, he has accomplished a lot more than Obama did in 8 years.
And the thing that nobody is doing is being intellectually honest by quoting him in context. They're taking everything out of context. They're doing it deceptively, and of course we know that they do this on purpose. It's always an effort to make the man look bad and cast him in a bad light. The perfectly honest truth is America is full of cities that are shitholes. America is full of areas where the poverty rate is way high and jobs is way down, and they got nothing but worse under Barack Obama. Now, Donald Trump comes along. Trump comes along, the economy is booming, people are going back to work, salaries are going up, revenue is up, everything is up, and all these people can do is dwell on things that this man said out of context.
Exactly.
Those places in America are usually places that have been governed by Democrats for 30 years.
Exactly. Exactly right.
If the Democrats concede to the economy being the best ever, they got nothing. They got nothing to run on. You know, what's left? What's left?
Well, you know, if Trump is smart, he will say that these people, if they do get citizenship, they cannot vote for 10 years. Because that is the only reason the Democrats are fighting for them.
You better believe it. That's right. Yep, you're right.
We go to school and learn American and world history and civics class before we vote. So they ought to say if they get their citizenship and they don't get to vote for 10 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. These libs, the left, the Dems, are working harder for those folks than they are for all the homeless veterans that we have out there. It's really sick that
if only voters could see that.
Yeah.
If only the voters could see, if these young people could see that the Democrats are fighting more for the illegals than they are for Americans.
And all people are saying is, hey, you can come here, just come here legally. There's no problem.
Well,
you just got to do it legally.
They're trying to say we need to bring their families in. These DACA parents have been here 20 or 30 years. They left their families. And those families have had plenty of time to try to get in legally.
Exactly.
We don't need to chain migration.
No, you're right. I think
we have got 18 and 19-year-old foreigners in our grade school classes with second and third and fourth grade students because they have a second grade education and they don't even speak the language.
Yeah,
that is insane.
Yeah,
that is absolutely insane.
Yeah, yeah. And it's unfortunate because we cater more to them than we do our own students. You know, it's kind of like when I go to your house, when I'm invited, Charlotte, I have to comply with your rules and policies and regulations. I don't come in there and say, well, sorry, Charlotte, this is the way I do it in my house, and now you're going to have to follow my... Are you kidding me? How come we do this to accommodate everybody but our own American citizens and children? I don't get that.
If you notice, Paul Ryan funds every illegal citizen program that there is, yet he can't find money for the wall. And everything he is funding for them is unconstitutional.
Yeah, Trump is right. You just gotta invoke some sort of special fees or with NAFTA, and you'll get the billion that you need. That's. It's not like the president of Mexico is going to cut a check to the United States. Here's for the wall. No,
right.
You're going to exact it from some other. Like he said, the money remittances when they send all their money back to their home country. Hey, tax the crap out of it. You'll get more than what you need for the wall. I don't see a problem with that.
I wish that the people that voted for Trump would start sticking out for him because
that's it. I agree, Charlotte.
Democrats and half Republicans are all against him, and he's standing alone. And I just wish some of these voters, if nothing else, start writing their congressman.
You know what? I don't even think that's going to do anything. I just don't see. Honestly, I honestly don't know because I've tried to get a hold of senators and congressmen here. You're lucky if they take your call or return your call, which they never have, and then they just blow smoke up your butt. Unfortunately, that's all they do.
Yeah.
Talk is cheap. We had 8 years of nothing but talk, and now we've got somebody in there that's actually doing some stuff, some real significant results that everybody is benefiting from. Are you kidding me? Like I said to JJ last week.
They are fighting. He never stepped away. It's about time to go with pitchforks to march on D.C. I'll tell you that now we need to get a lot. We have a lot of Republicans who are resigning this year, but we need to get rid of the whole gang of Democrats in there.
I would.
84-year-old Feinstein.
Yeah.
Running again. Pelosi. She can't even make a sentence anymore.
She's got some sort of, I don't know if she has Parkinson's or whatever. No offense, Nancy, but she's got some issues where she's a fluster. But you're right. We got to get rid of them all. Get them all out of there. Get some.
I was going to get Schumer out of there.
Right.
But
Right.
and Pocahontas, Lord have mercy.
She's another one. She's another one. Phony baloney.
You know, the problem is that it's not just these really bad legislators and senators that have been elected. The problem is that the people that elect them are every bit as stupid and or evil as the people that represent them. You cannot.
Well, the way it is right now, they can't get anything done. They fight among each other, and they're not caring. They want to do for the party, not the people. And we really need to get rid of all those older ones.
You know, but we can't. But what we can't do is get rid of the bad ones and replace them with bad ones. I mean, this is the problem with California. Do you think they're going to elect somebody that's better than Nancy Pelosi? Well, you know, the chances of them finding somebody
California
worse.
is a lot. That is a lot.
Exactly. But, I mean, you're talking not just California. I mean, you're talking New York. We're talking Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, the New England states, so many places. Nevada electing Harry Reid all those times, and even Arizona being stupid enough to reelect John McCain over and over again. I mean, all of this points to what? Dumbed down voters. That are easily manipulated by the promise of free stuff or by the promise of, chicken in every pot or whatever it is. The problem is America has gotten away from the American ideal that everybody that is willing to work hard for their living is somehow portrayed as being old-fashioned. And we stopped teaching
even the
our
Bible
children.
says, if you don't work, you don't eat.
We stopped teaching our children values. And then people act so shocked. I mean, this comes down to godliness. It really does. And
it certainly does.
You know, you can't separate the two. I mean, if you've got dumbed down people, then you're going to have dumbed down politicians representing them.
Well, they're taking advantage of the people. They really are, and the people are too dumb to know it.
That's right. That's exactly right. Or apathetic. They get too apathetic and don't go out to the polls. They don't care because it doesn't directly affect them.
Well,
so they think.
Well, they'll go out to the polls, but they vote for whoever will give them the most.
Well, but they've also conditioned. They've also conditioned our kids to be these snowflakes. Have you seen these ridiculous anti-bullying commercials on TV where? For one thing, when I was growing up, I had to deal with bullies. You bet I did. But I dealt with them. If you don't learn how to deal with adversity when you're young, then you're going to have no clue how to deal with it when you're old.
Yep.
I mean,
they are trying to teach the children that they're all the same. No matter what they do, they all get a certificate. They all get a ribbon. And they're not allowed to defend themselves or...
America.
When I was growing up, the boys had shop class and they had guns. They had out back and shop the guns and practice.
They
need to go back to that.
Take the 22 and the 30-06 into class for show and tell. You bet. But see, the thing is now, and by the way, we got a break coming up at the top of the hour, but I want to continue this conversation because it's a very good point that. If we're not going to teach our kids how to deal with adversity when they're young, then they're going to get steamrolled as adults. Because they will have not been equipped with the essentials that they need to prosper and survive. And we need to teach our kids to be tough when times get tough, instead of rolling over and asking the government for a favor. I mean, if people learn how to take care of themselves, they won't need the government, and they'll be doing themselves the biggest favor ever. Stick around, more with the mysterious Colonel and Charlotte and yours truly. Hour number 2 up next. Are these the first volleys in America's next civil war?
He's not a tough guy. He's a bully and he's a bitch.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig.
And he can suck my
He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt.
I'll meet him in a hotel room any other day of the week and give him a Louisville Slugger.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
Kiss my mother.
Which side of the aisle is really spewing hateful rhetoric?
pointing what appears to be a water gun at the image of President Donald Trump projected on a whiteboard. Art teacher Pale Modi has now been seen by countless viewers.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, The J.J. McCartney Show, exposing the truth, exposing the lies, exposing the deep state.
It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage.
How much longer can America survive this kind of hatred?
Video depicting comedian Kathy Griffin holding the bloody, decapitated head of President Trump are no joking matter for the Secret Service.
The rhetoric that has inspired the violence has come from the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
They're involved in the coup, an active attempt to start a bloody civil war.
I want people to imagine an FBI director that has the stones to investigate the deep state. Imagine a justice system that has the integrity to prosecute corrupt government officials. They have refused to apply the 14th Amendment and give conservatives equal protection under the law. What we've seen here has been the gradual takeover of the government by corporatism, by globalism. They have wrested control of our government away from the citizenry and put it in the hands of a few special interests. And these special interests are as evil as the day is long.
We finally do have a president who has the integrity to do this. We finally do have a DOJ who has the integrity to do this. We know that we have people around the president who not only have the integrity, but have the information and the contacts to get everything done you just said. And you say, well, why aren't they doing it? Everything you're seeing on the news, that's what it's about. That's what this investigation's about. That's what calls of impeachment are about. That's what the globalist attack against Trump is about. That's what the hearings are about. That's what the allegations of Russian spying are about. It's about keeping them off point, keeping them off the agenda, keeping them off task. A lot of what you're watching happening right now, and the misdirection and the complete trying to keep Trump off target goes to that birth certificate. The worst crime in American history was perpetrated against America under the regime of Barack Obama. The media is complicit. Congress is complicit. Federal law enforcement apparently has been complicit. We've got a CIA whistleblower, Dennis Montgomery, whose attorney, Larry Klayman, put it all over the internet the other day that he has said that all of this spying that's been going on American people, that it resulted in manipulation and collusion with judges, Supreme Court justices, congressmen, etc., that James Comey was involved in it, that he was at the top of it. All of this stuff you're seeing about Donald Trump's with the Russians, Donald Trump needs to be impeached, Donald Trump, this is a smokescreen to keep our eyes off of what really happened and what's really going on. And America had better wake up to this, JJ.
Your federal government, your federal law enforcement agencies, our federal intelligence agencies, your federal government in toto has been compromised. The fact that Donald Trump has arrived and said, I'm not going to go along with the status quo anymore, is the cause for alarm for these people on the left. And ultimately, Carl, is it possible that yesterday was simply the first shot fired in an impending civil war between two irreconcilable ideologies?
I don't want our children and grandchildren to see or to participate or to fall victim to such a thing. I don't want our nation to go through such a thing. I don't know that we could survive that. Like Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, when he said, now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any other nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. I mean, God's people, we need to pray. We need to not be afraid to speak truth.
Weekdays from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, The J.J. McCartney Show. Exposing the truth, exposing the lies, exposing the deep state.
Live from the Nightside Radio Studios.
This is the J.J. McCartney Show.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Coming to you from Nebraska by way of Alaska. Here's J.J. McCartney.
Okay, we are back, and thank you for joining us on this Friday, the 12th day of 2018. It's great to have you with us. We've got the mysterious Colonel We've got Charlotte in South Carolina. We're talking about, about the disservice that America is doing to our young people, and now we are paying a political price for that lack of real education. And we'll talk more about that. Plus, you're welcome to join the fray as well at 855-853-5227. More on the J.J. McCartney Show coming up next. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us. And Colonel and Charlotte, thank you for hanging on through the break. Now, we were talking about, the reasons why we have wound up in the political shape that we're in. And I think that, all of the moral ambiguities that have been ingrained in young people in America are now coming back to haunt us. They really are. We're reaping what we've sown.
JJ, we can't blame the government and schools for everything. Parents have quit parenting.
Oh, well, absolutely.
They have quit taking their children to church. They have been lazy and letting the schools do all the education on religion and everything else, manners and how they're to act and how they're to play, and what they can and can't do. And even on their English, what they're cracking down on. There's words they can't say. Some colleges, you can't say mom, dad, wife, or it has to be bisexual. That's crazy. And the parents are not standing up.
The ultimate, the ultimate sign that a society is falling apart is when one group in that society tries to dictate to the rest of that society what they are and are not allowed to say, in complete violation of our First Amendment rights, our clear enumerated rights in the Bill of Rights are threatened now by people that are very evil, have the worst of intentions, and want to see the downfall of the United States. And just like it's happened everywhere else, it all begins with abandoning the principles of godliness, ignoring the Ten Commandments, and basically teaching children that morality itself is relative.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But today, all they talk about is the president's speech. The Dow, the NASDAQ, and S&P are at an all-time high.
Yep.
Exactly.
Stocks continue to climb. You're not hearing that.
No, because that's Barack Obama. It's because of his policies, Charlotte. That's what the left is saying, that it's because of Barack Hussein Obama's policy that we're doing so well now. It's just truly amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
anybody that can believe that after 8 years of what we have gone through with the country going downhill would believe anything.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's because they're stupid, and they all pay attention to those stupid iPhones. And look, you got Twitter, you got Google, you got all these tech companies that are monitoring and determining what they think is hateful speech and cutting it off. I don't see them doing that for all the liberals. They let the liberals say whatever they want.
Not only that, they take off anything conservative.
Right, exactly.
Now, why in the world Congress don't call them in is beyond me. They call CEOs of companies in. They broke up AT&T.
Yeah, why don't they break up these, yeah, you're absolutely right.
They're trying to control speech. They ought to stop it.
Yep. I look at the...
and they ought to tell these editors, media, that the constitutional protections does not cover fake news.
That's absolutely right. The thing I look at, you look at the stock market and where it's been and where it's headed. If you had told people on November 9th, 2016, that the Dow Jones Industrial Average would be at 25,803 in January of 2018, they probably would have locked you up in a padded room. But what we have seen...
Before this election, before Trump was elected, America was drawing its last breath.
Yep, no doubt. It's not as though this has happened in a vacuum. This happened. I mean, when we look at Inauguration Day, 2017, the stock market that day was sitting at 19,800, or rather, 19,827, which was, was considered quite good at the time. But everybody was predicting a sharp decline as soon as Donald Trump became president. And instead, what we have seen an increase in the values on the stock market of 30% since Donald Trump took office. 30% in one calendar year is unprecedented.
Unbelievable.
It's absolutely never been done before. And the it reflects an optimism on the part of
Oh,
industry and the American people, the American consumer, that is not being reflected.
Well, when they start sending the money in their billfolds, they'll turn around. I hope that this evening he can shut up a lot of people, because he's right now departing Walter Reed after having his physical.
Yeah, I see that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, remember, they're gonna say he's in bad health and he's deranged and he's got all kinds of mental and psychological problems.
He's crazy. Okay, he's crazy like a fox.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. I got to tell you, and I've told JJ this before, Charlotte, I don't have the energy, and Trump is probably a good number of years older than me. I don't have the kind of energy that he does. When he's traveling around, he's up late at night, early in the morning. I got to tell you, so for that alone, he's making his pay and then some for the kind of hours.
Except he's not taking a pay. Except he's not taking a pay.
I gotta share with
every
you.
month you donate this stuff.
I gotta share this with you both. Story I saw on WorldNet Daily. Okay, the headline reads like this: Chelsea Clinton rebuked for Trump attack, and the quotation says, "Haiti helped pay for your wedding." How good is that? How good is that?
Whoa!
The truth hurts. Chelsea Clinton really stepped in. She stepped in it yesterday when she tore into President Trump after news organizations said the president asked senators why the U.S. keeps bringing in migrants from shithole countries like Haiti, El Salvador, and African nations. President Trump denied using the term, though he did admit he used tough language in the meeting. And in her response to a Bloomberg headline, Chelsea tweeted to Trump yesterday, "Mr. President, immigrants from El Salvador, Haiti, and 54 countries in Africa likely helped build your buildings. They've certainly helped build our country." And to that...
How about $1 million apartment?
Chelsea apparently...
I don't think you will pay for that.
Yeah. Chelsea apparently forgot that her parents are accused of helping to leave hundreds of earthquake-ravaged Haitians homeless. Twitter users quickly pointed out that Clinton's organization, the Clinton Foundation, reportedly scammed Haiti out of recovery donations after its horrific 2010 earthquake, and in that same year was said to have paid for Chelsea's $3 million luxurious wedding to Mark Mavinsky on July 31st, 2010. Some of the responses. I'm just going to read a few of these here. I know we've got time considerations. One response, Haiti also helped pay for your wedding. Another said, at Chelsea Clinton, please stop. Haiti got robbed by the Clinton Foundation and Hillary Clinton. Another one says, all of a sudden, the Clintons care about Haiti. Right. Another one said, you're one to talk about being kind to Haiti. Ask your parents how much money they made through the corrupt Clinton Foundation at the expense of the Haitian people. And so on and so forth. It goes on and on. And
how about that?
And there are people out there talking about, well, the political aspirations of Chelsea Clinton. She might run for Senate. She might do that, or she could just shrivel up and go away, like the Clintons ought to. Yes,
that would be nice.
You know, it makes me sick that anybody
likewise.
pays any attention whatsoever to what this worthless, unaccomplished hack has to say. I mean, it really is. She's never done anything. She's never earned anything. Everything she's ever had was given to her on a silver platter, and it was paid for by American tax dollars, illegal drug money that went through the airport in Mena, Arkansas, and now the Haitian people. Yeah. Dude, that's what I call moral superiority right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have found the ones that scream the loudest are usually the ones that are most guilty.
Yep. And the thing is, I mean, the Clintons, of all people, should have learned by now that you don't throw rocks when you live in a glass house.
Right. Exactly.
What's next? Are they going to give us a lesson on fidelity?
That'd be nice.
Yeah. That sort of went bust, I guess, during the election, during the campaign. But yeah, they still try to, So yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know where Americans' mindset are. And enough is enough with this nonsense already. The Clintons need to go away. How come everybody wants to badmouth these CEOs and how evil they are and how much money they make, but how come nobody wants the Clintons, a family, a man and a woman who lust for nothing but power and other things, according to Bill. I don't know what she lusts for, but how come nobody has a problem with that? Go away.
Yeah.
Like you said, Chelsea's done nothing. She's just by default, through those two, if she is a legitimate child of them, I guess she is. She looks similar to him. That she's done nothing. And I'm tired of it. You've earned your fame and fortune. Now go away. Let somebody else have it. But why do we continue to put these people in power that do nothing but abuse it? I don't understand. I mean, it's not like
can you imagine?
Can
you imagine the twisted moral fabric that must make up Chelsea Clinton?
Oh,
I mean, when you weave that kind of tapestry
between the two of them.
But yeah, between Bill and Hillary, I mean, my God.
I feel sorry for her.
I do.
I do too. Yeah.
She is the big.
Well,
listen, most of you had a nice weekend.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Right,
it's
too,
great
Charlotte.
to talk
Be
to you.
safe.
Have a wonderful
God
weekend.
bless.
Thank you.
Take care,
All right.
Charlotte. Always a pleasure. Take care.
Now, Colonel, there's other things going on in the news. It's not all,
Really? I thought it was just about the S-hole.
Yeah.
That's all I've been hearing about from all these other news networks. They just don't stop. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You talk about fixation. OMG.
Yeah, they're definitely out there. I mean, we've seen negative attacks on presidents before. We really have. I mean, we remember how they went after Bush, and let that be a lesson to everybody. That when George Bush was president, they hated on him, and they did it all the time. They insinuated he was the dumbest guy that had ever been president.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is that whoever is the conservative of the day, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's George W. Bush, and let's admit George W. Bush wasn't nearly as far to the right as people would have had you think.
That's true. You're right.
I mean, it was the thing they did with Bush was they tried to paint him as stupid and insensitive because he sat and read to children on 9/11.
Yeah, exactly, and didn't react for 7 seconds.
Yeah,
he paused and delayed, and what was that about?
Yeah, that's the last thing you want. That's the last thing you want is a president that's deliberate.
Right, and yeah, exactly. Right. You don't want him to. You want him to make a hasty decision according to that fat, dirty, Michael Moore.
Yeah,
who made that stupid movie. But the last 8 years, I didn't see the media hating on that president though, JJ.
No.
A little bit different.
It is
a little bit different for the last 8 years. I didn't see him hating on that guy.
And when George Herbert Walker Bush was president, what did they do? They focused on the bad economy. And when Ronald Reagan was president, well, they they just went crazy. I mean, that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the complete derangement of people in the media. When Ronald Reagan was president, because Ronald Reagan was a cowboy. I mean, he would say what was on his mind. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Refer to the Soviet Union as the axis of evil.
Evil. Yep.
You know, and do the right things to stimulate the American economy, build up the military, and bury Russia in its own debt. And that's exactly what they did. You know,
exactly.
I mean, some people will say, well, he ran up these deficits. He did all these terrible things. You know, maybe, just maybe, and you consider the fact that Ronald Reagan did not have the benefit of a Republican conservative majority in the House and the Senate for most of his presidency. So he was fighting against the machinery the whole time. Yet he took his case directly to the American people, and he got a lot of stuff done. He really did. People don't want to remember that. People don't want to give him credit for that because they had a problem with his ideology. Well, guess what?
Right.
Now we are seeing it happen all over again. The same revisionists that try to paint the 80s as the decade of greed, God knows what they're going to say about the Trump presidency in hindsight.
This is why truly they were excited about the big Barack Hussein Obama, because they really thought, wow, this is the beginning of us being on a roll. And that's why they freaked out that Hillary wasn't able to continue that legacy and that ideology. And they are just beside themselves to the nth degree, because now, like you said, we've got a practitioner in there that sort of, you know, is making happen what he actually said he was going to do, okay? You know, he's not perfect. He's got a lot more to do, but it just defies all of what they were hoping was going to happen, and that's why they are truly insane out of their minds.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, the old saying, lead, follow, or get out of the way? I think the problem that they have is that Donald Trump is actually leading. And for far too long, the establishment could dictate to the president what the terms of his presidency would be, and the things he's allowed to do and say and the things he's not allowed to do and say. And when Donald Trump came along, all of a sudden, here comes the guy that they can't manipulate, they can't control, they can't dictate to him, because he came to town with his own mandate and his own agenda.
Exactly.
And his agenda was reflected in the people that voted for him. And
he's not a member of that President's Club group.
Yeah.
He's not, you know.
By the way, the latest Rasmussen poll, not that Rasmussen is any more reputable than anybody else, but Donald Trump's approval rating as of today, 46%. 46%.
Wow.
Considering all of the currents that are trying to pull against him.
Exactly.
I mean, that's pretty darn good. That is pretty darn good for where he's at. Colonel,
you know what? I could care less if he's that popular, as long as that market keeps going up, JJ. Sorry to say. I'm serious.
It has been a long time since the American people have felt the kind of optimism that they're feeling right now, because their portfolios are doing better than they ever have. Property values are going up. People are buying houses and appliances and all these things, and for all the gloom and doom that we were told was going to happen, Donald Trump has pulled all the right levers with this economy, and he is. I mean, he looks like a genius because he knew exactly what needed to be done. He's doing it, and boy, I tell you what, those people on the left that are so angry and want to, throw all these epithets at Donald Trump, are they turning down the gains in their own stock market portfolios?
Right, exactly.
Are they complaining about that? No.
Yeah, right.
It's
right.
like they truly want to have their cake and eat it too. And, I think if they were morally consistent, that they would take all that money they've gained in the stock market and send it directly to the people of Haiti. Don't you think?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying. All of them.
They're free. They're certainly free to do that. There's no law
I'm
against
sure De Niro's got enough money. He's got millions he can send over there to help those people. You know,
Yeah.
same thing with all those Hollywood types. Big Oprah. Why doesn't she give every Haitian a car? She could probably afford it.
You know, she
She's
got
giving it to
arrested.
all her studio
She got arrested at the airport. Oprah did.
No.
Yep.
How can that be?
She was
Must have been racial profiling.
She was carrying 100 pounds of crack between her legs.
Oh.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a family show.
I've been holding this in all week. So, folks, we'll take a quick break. More with the Colonel in just a minute.
The J.J. McCartney Show.
Hey, everybody. J.J. McCartney back here for our good friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. You know, folks, there's one thing that there never seems to be a shortage of in this world, and that is uncertainty, unrest. You know, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Natural disasters, economic downturns, whatever it is, you can be prepared by going to MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. They have got everything you need, from ProPure gravity-fed water filtration systems to Kimberly stoves to these composting toilets. Ladies and gentlemen, at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com, you can prepare for anything. Food storage, no problem. Advice, no problem. Call our good friend Sue at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com. Find out what's there for you. Great prices, great advice, and guess what, folks? You'll find it all at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com.
You send a kid to the emergency room for a treatable illness like asthma. They end up taking up a hospital bed. It costs you gave them treatment early, and they got some treatment, a breathalyzer or an inhalator, not a breathalyzer. You know what? It would cost about the same as what we would spend over the course of 10 years. It would cost what it would cost us. All right, okay. We're going to. It would cost us about the same as it would cost for about, hold on one second, I can't hear myself. And they got some treatment, and you gave them treatment early. I haven't had much sleep in the last 48 hours, so.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
The J.J. McCartney Show. JJMcCartney.com.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives?
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy?
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back on the Friday Extravaganza with the mysterious Colonel, and it's always an extravaganza when we have the Colonel with us. Colonel,
thank you.
First of all, it's the weekend. Do you have any big plans this weekend?
No, nothing. Finally, my oldest daughter is contemplating or programmed to move out over the weekend, so we'll be helping her pack her boxes and put all her possessions. I just have to guard all my stuff because she's liable to take all my prized electronic equipment and things like that. I have to make sure that I put a padlock on the refrigerator. You know how it is. With these,
you have to.
I'm sure Allison is much better. I'm sure she doesn't do any of that. So
no. Well, the thing is, and she's our only child, so we've never really, I mean, she knows that eventually everything will belong to her anyway, So, but we don't make too big of a deal about it because, I mean, we're a family, This is what families do. You pull together, you do what you can, and I could not be prouder of what she's doing in her own life. Mm-hmm. She does live with us, and that's by choice, and it's a good thing for both of us, or I should say for the three of us. But we've come to appreciate her as a grown up, much more so since she's been home, and also, it's a lot different now than it was when I was her age. We just have to recognize that this country, this economy, and everything about life in these United States today is, in many ways, it's a much more difficult and much more competitive world that we live in now than it was then. And and the fact is, I mean, you get a job that pays you a fair wage, and most people they dream of being in a situation where they're doing what they love to do, and there's there is security in that. I remember many times in the course of my career and looking back that I was not happy with what I was doing. I was just sustaining myself, and that's all that came from it. But when you do something that you find personally rewarding, boy, it makes the time go by a lot faster, doesn't it?
You better believe it. You better believe it. And that's absolutely true. And you're right. And I'm in no hurry to kick either one of my daughters out. I get the dynamics of the world today, and as long as I can financially, take care of them, I have no problem with that. It's just my oldest daughter. She's 29. She'll be 30 in March, and she's like, "Oh, I'm 30 years old. I want to move out my own place." And God bless her. She's done very well. She's a special ed teacher, so she's doing okay. And but I'm in no rush. I wouldn't mind, honestly, if they lived here till whenever. I have no problem with that. And so, like I said, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
Than it was years ago when we were kids. But you're right. Loving your work is so much better than going in. I've always told people that I've been very fortunate to live two career loves of my life. I couldn't imagine even, and I say that now, and maybe some people can't relate to it, but if I were going in to some job making lots of money, but sitting at a desk all day, being bored to tears, and like you said, hating every minute of it, what is that? So maybe I haven't made a lot of money. I've done okay, but I've really been able to love the careers that I've had in my life. And you're right, that's so important.
It is. When I look back, I mean, I did things when I was very young that I'm so glad I took the risks that I did when I was young. Because, I mean, what I wound up doing, I picked up the kinds of experiences that most people my age never really got to fully experience because of the changes, the changing times that we live in. Every industry has been touched by technology. Even industries like farming have been touched by so much technology that it now takes one guy sitting in the cab of a tractor. All he has to do is punch the coordinates into his computer, and the tractor drives itself. We watch this happen every spring, every fall, when they go through the big cornfield or wheat field, depending on what year it is. They pre-program this thing to go through, and it's what they call knives. Now they refer to these planting devices as knives because they don't till up all the soil. They slice through it. They punch the seed into the ground at the perfect depth, and it all happens so quickly that people don't really understand what it is they're seeing. It's planting season, and then, for example, the winter wheat. The winter wheat starts germinating in about October, November, and you see the tiny little green peach fuzz coming out about that time of the year, and then by the time the end of spring arrives, you've got waving wheat. I mean, it really is. It's amazing. It smells great. It's beautiful. And then when they plant corn, the corn that they plant is almost impervious to drought, which to me is amazing. The way that they have engineered this, and look, people can talk about genetically modified this or that. What they're doing with hybrids has been amazing. And the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, which is on the other side of the state, they've done a lot of research over the years with hybrid corn and things like this. And it's like we could be going through the worst drought, and yet the corn is up over our heads.
Wow.
And they don't irrigate this field at all. It's strictly whatever God drops on it is what it gets. And yet all of this stuff is so engineered now that farming is and then when they come through with the harvester, that automatically plucks the ears of corn off the stalks, automatically shucks the corn, automatically puts the corn, puts the grain in the grain bin, and the stalks and the rest of it gets chewed up and spit back out. I mean, it is the technological advances since I was a youngster in farming have revolutionized the industry of farming. It really has. Yeah, well, broadcasting is the same way. I mean, what you used to do with slide projectors and clunky film projectors and even clunkier videotape machines way back in the day. Now everything is done on computers. And in radio, when I started in radio back in 1978, good Lord, 40 years ago, the AM radio station was a daytime only station. It was a country western station. And we had an old tube-powered mixing board and two gigantic turntables to my left. And then we had, I think, two, maybe three separate cart machines to play commercials on. And cart machines, they're about the same size as an 8-track tape, and every one of them contained just one commercial or one whatever it was. And so we would run live music playing off the turntable. We would run music from every once in a while a musician would visit the studio, and we'd have them play in the musician's studio, which had a piano and a couple of boom microphones in it. And then as time went by, I mean, it was already in a transition period in broadcasting because that was the AM. The FM station was automated. And when I say automated, it consisted of this thing that at the time they called an Instacart, which was a machine that had 48 cart slots in it. And the machine could call on any one of those cartridges to play randomly as instructed by the computer that ran it. And then there were 4 reel-to-reel tape players that had music on them. And they were programmed so that it was a certain genre of music is on this reel. Then you've got a current reel that plays current music. And then there was a recurrent reel that played semi-old current music. And all of this stuff, you had to change tapes every couple of hours because, 1 or 2 machines would run out every hour. And then the important part with the FM station was sitting down every day to program this binary computer that ran the system. And so you'd use a 10 key to program this thing, and I would be the guy that would sit there and program in all 24 hours of the next day in the evening. And it would, I was working an average of 8 hours a day when I started in the business. And by the time I moved to Alaska after I graduated, I started at 15. I graduated college at 18, and then I was back in Alaska 5 days later. And I worked in the radio industry that entire time from 1981 until 1997 when we moved to Nebraska. Wow. And the industry had changed, so dramatically, so quickly that when I was first back up in Alaska, I was in radio heaven because we were still doing live radio. Everywhere was still doing live radio. You had a man sitting at a board controlling everything. And, I got to work at some of the Haitian radio stations in Alaska, the shitholes. And
right.
But what I did was I kind of pogoed my way up the ladder to get to work at the big, huge #1 station in the state. and everything was brand new and state-of-the-art, and it was just an amazing educational experience for me. And that was about the time that I got into the engineering side of radio. I mean, I was on the air all the time, but I wanted to learn the engineering side of it because there's more money in engineering than there is in being a disc jockey, and anybody will tell you that. With the exception of the Casey Kasems and people like that, there was more money and stability in engineering than there was being on the air, and so I started taking a real interest. And by the time I was 22 years old, in a course of less than 4 years, I was a program director and chief engineer of a brand new AM radio station that went on the air in 1985. And it was like, you cannot imagine how much I learned and how fast I learned it. Of course, I was like a sponge. I mean, I would absorb. When somebody would tell me something, I would listen with rapt attention because I wanted to get it right. And I learned from the absolute best in the industry. I really did. And by the time I got done with Alaska and moved to Arkansas, I didn't have to worry about whether I was going to find work or not, because I had studied enough and learned enough and knew enough that there wasn't any radio station that I could visit that didn't need what I knew. And it was a very exciting time for me because I'd gone from the old turntables and analog type experience into the digital age, where everything that you listen to on the radio today, chances are it's playing off a hard drive. Okay? Today, that's just the way it is, with the exception of live talk shows like this and a handful of local radio shows that are still done live. Most of it is done via computer. And I worked in that industry for another 7, 8, 10 years, something like. Well, no, actually 15 years. And when I look back on it now, everything changed so much, and I could have been one of those people that insisted on old school. But you know what those people are doing now? Those people that insisted on old school, they're working at Lowe's, or they're working at Home Depot. Gotcha. They don't have a pension plan. They've bounced from job to job to job because they didn't want to change with the times. Yeah, and while I certainly admire, the purist in me admires old school, you have to understand, and this is true no matter what your industry is. If you're not willing to make yourself more valuable to your employer, then you're not going to keep your job very long.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're right.
And when you look at the economy today and where we've come from and where we're going, the expectation that these youngsters have when they graduate school is that there's going to be people lining up to hire them. And what they're finding is in the terrible, cruel world we live in, the jobs are not going to come seeking you. You have to go seeking them. And if you're not willing to expend effort along the way, then you're gonna have a very difficult time surviving in this economy. Here's
a good example. Here's a good example. Maybe not, but the scenario that I teach in, it's an undergraduate institution, and there have been several job fairs for the students, and at times, I don't know, I don't want to name the businesses, but businesses that are kind of like oriented to fast food, they're very well-known, chains have showed up to hire, students as crew members. I can't tell you how many students feel insulted when these businesses come there because they're in the process of getting a degree, a college degree, and they are far above being crew members. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I get the college education, but just to your point where I guess they must think that, as you said, people are going to be knocking at their doors once they get their college degree to hire them and fight for them, and it's like incredible. Listen, everybody's going to start out at the bottom,
Yeah.
And I guess the theory is to make some money rather than no money, but whatever. What do I know?
It's funny, too, how young people have their preconceived notions about how their life is going to go. And then, as we've made this observation many times, it's amazing how much your parents learn in the first few years after you leave home. Your parents all of a sudden go from being those dumb, old-fashioned whatevers to all of a sudden you appreciate what they went through to put you in your, into your early life. I mean, the sacrifices they made, the decisions that they made that you were never aware of at one point in time, and then all of a sudden you grow up and realize, wait a minute, they're taking taxes out of my paycheck. What's that?
Yeah, exactly right.
All of a sudden, liberals become conservatives when they start looking at the FICA taxes and the Social Security and the Medicare, the Medicaid, and the state and the federal taxes coming out of the paychecks, and all of a sudden they become keenly aware of this phantom that has its hand in their pockets at all times. And all of a sudden the parents become much smarter because they were frugal when they went shopping. Well, here we have this a story about the Clintons. Hillary-funded ex-spy had call with FBI about email probe. The author of the dossier claimed that the feds manipulated for political ends. Here we go. During the contentious 2016 presidential election, Hillary Clinton was fuming that then FBI Director James Comey had closed and then reopened the investigation into her emails. So what's a Clinton to do when the FBI won't get off her tail and is threatening to derail her coveted White House bid? Well, what you do is you hire an ex-spy to report unverified accusations and salacious personal dirt on her Republican opponent, Donald Trump. Have that ex-spy pass the scandalous dossier off to the FBI, which is suspected of using it to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump's campaign. The FBI launched a probe of Trump a month after it received the dossier. Then, just as James Comey reopens the Clinton email probe in late October, the Clinton-funded ex-spy calls the FBI about its investigation of Clinton, and he claims the probe is politically motivated. Well, that's essentially how it all happened, according to a flurry of new reports, sources and testimony that were released this week. Former British spy Christopher Steele compiled the anti-Trump dossier, which he said was given to the FBI near the start of July. But Steele didn't compile the dossier on his own. He had been hired by the Washington-based intelligence firm Fusion GPS, which funded his research with cash from Hillary Clinton's campaign and the Democratic National Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a billion times more serious than Watergate.
Exactly.
It really is.
Exactly.
And if nobody goes to jail over this, then the country owes a huge apology to F. Lee Bailey, to who else am I thinking of here? E. Howard Hunt, John Mitchell, everybody else, all the principals involved in Watergate, because Watergate was like
nothing.
It was like getting squirted with a water pistol versus being deluged by Niagara Falls.
You better believe it. Nothing compared to what's happened here.
Now, here's the question. Did Clinton-funded dossier trigger FBI spying warrant? Well, I think it's pretty clear that that's exactly what happened.
Exactly right.
We heard a couple weeks ago from a gentleman from Ohio by the name of, I believe his name is Jordan. I'm going back here. Yeah, it was Jim Jordan, I believe is his name. From Ohio, charged that the Clinton campaign used its law firm, Perkins Cole, to hire Fusion GPS. And Steele, of course, drafted the dossier. But here's the thing that nobody has focused on. The individual that actually hand-delivered the dossier to the FBI was none other than John Foster McCain.
Yeah, I heard it was McCain, and
and to this day, the media has treated John McCain as though he, and by the way, he's going to die soon from his brain cancer, but they're treating it like it's going to be an ascension into heaven,
Of course.
They have always been very hands-off with Hillary as well. But the information that was released this week, if it had been a Republican candidate that had drafted or hired somebody to draft this dossier, there would be daily congressional hearings, there would be calls for impeachment, there would be all of these things going on. And
exactly.
We must in this country call your representatives and insist that the law be enforced and that anybody with fingerprints on this thing has to go to jail. There's no question about it.
Absolutely. I'm amazed. There is more collusion on that side of things than there is on the Trump, campaign. And it's so obvious, but yet it doesn't get the same traction. And the other thing, too, we have to find out, and I don't know if we ever will, if the FBI paid Christopher Steele for that dossier.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Colonel, we got another caller. We have a caller on the line. Hello, caller. You are on with the mysterious Colonel. Hello?
Hello?
Hello. You're on. It's you. Who is this?
I'm calling about something to rent. Is this a rental company? Just X Rental?
Yes, it is.
What
would you like to rent today, ma'am?
This is a live radio call-in show. You're on the air. I'm very sorry, ma'am.
No.
You got the wrong number. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's been one of those days.
Okay. Well,
I'm not going to speculate.
Messing with this again.
I'm not going to speculate about who she voted for. But
we can't jump to any inconclusions. No inconclusions here.
Here is part of the document that was dated the 22nd of August, 2017. It was an attachment to documents that were officially filed. This is page 179 of a report. It says, sometime thereafter, the FBI, I understand Chris severed his relationship with the FBI out of concern that he didn't know what was happening inside the FBI, and there was a concern that the FBI was being manipulated for political ends by the Trump people. Tell me something, please. How is it possible that the Trump people would be manipulating the FBI?
Right. How does that happen?
In 2016. How is that possible?
Yeah, I'd like to know. Wow.
And they with regard to just the finish up on the interactions with the FBI, do you know, were there any additional interactions between Mr. Steele and the FBI? The answer comes that there was some sort of interaction. I think it was probably telephonic, that occurred after Director Comey sent his letter to Congress reopening the investigation into Clinton's emails. That episode, obviously created some concern that the FBI was intervening in a political campaign. Excuse me? We're talking about in October of 2016. The intervening in the political campaign was the actions of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee in the spring of 2015. That's when they started all this.
Yeah.
That's when they hatched
a couple of
the
things,
idea.
JJ. Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, I believe in October of 2015, Obama knew that the Russians were trying to hack into, U.S. elections, whatever. He did nothing. He did nothing about it. And the second thing is, how about this U.S. Attorney Bruce Orr, who met offline with members of Fusion GPS, and his wife, I forget her name, she worked for those folks. So how is that not collusion? I mean, it's so obvious. You got to be kidding me.
Well, it's not collusion because it doesn't favor Hillary Clinton.
Exactly. I mean, it's so obvious and blatant. I got to tell you, I really cannot believe what's going on here. It's so backwards. It's incredible. And I've never seen anything like it. And every time you bring up these facts, the counter to it will be, Trump administration, they're just trying to deflect from, the heat is on, Donald Trump, they're getting close to him. And even I've seen Bernstein on CNN or MSNBC, I forget which one, because I just turn him on very briefly. And he's the same way. Instead of him being the bulldog like he was during Watergate, how come he's not out there now investigating the Democrats for all that they've done? And the FBI, with all these, emails back and forth and insurance policies, which to me is outright blatant. If, like you said, if it were the other way around, if it was the Republicans or if it was the Trump campaign, like you said, every day there would be these unbelievable hearings going on that would be 24/7 on the news cycle.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yep. Well, we're very blessed that we don't have cable TV, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, in this crazy week that we've had, the disproportionate reactions that we're seeing to President Trump and the words that he chose to use behind closed doors, I find this to be so disingenuous that these people would feign offense when you consider the type of language they engaged in. When Donald Trump was running for president, when Donald Trump was being inaugurated, the things they were saying about Donald Trump, the expletives that were streaming out of the mouths of people like Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro and Madonna and Rosie O'Donnell and Ashley Judd and all these other feminazis out there. I mean,
that's how bad they hate him. That's how bad they hate him.
The sense of proportion has been lost. It really has. Mm-hmm. And, instead of cooler heads prevailing, what you have in the media is people that are out there trying to pour gasoline on every spark, trying to create some sort of maelstrom that they hope will resonate with the American people. Well, what resonates with the American people is the Dow Jones is less than 200 points away from 26,000.
That's right.
That's the bottom line is, they said it in 1992, it's the economy, stupid.
It's the economy, stupid, exactly. Yeah. You're right, JJ. But that's how bad these people hate Trump. Everything he does and says, they got to kill him on because they hate him so much. It's just incredible. I've never seen anything like the likes of it.
And I'm thankful that on some scale, I am also hated because of what I think and what I say. And
we all are,
that's a badge of honor.
I'm sure
it's a badge of honor for us, Colonel. Thank you, my friend. We'll see you next week, all right?
Always a pleasure.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, my friends, thank you for joining us on the Friday edition. We're going to take the weekend and rest and relax. Yeah, right. If you know me, that's not going to happen. Be good to yourselves, and if you possibly can, be good to someone else. And remember, we'll win in the end because there are more of us than there are of them. Because God is with us, and because we are all in this thing together. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. God bless. Bye-bye.